Yo, 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 yo. I forgot to take that off my bed. Welcome. What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? Thank you for tuning in to another Daily Fitness live stream show. Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Today is Wednesday. We are streaming and getting it in. Hopefully having a good day. Hopefully you enjoy your day at work. Hopefully you had a good day going on at work and all that good stuff. Hopefully nobody pissed you off too much. Nobody made you too mad. Hopefully everything was good on the even keel. But if you had a bad day, we're gonna let Mr. Child break it down to you.
Oh, you're having a bad day? Did you die?
I got shot.
But did you die?
And as long as you didn't get shot and you're still alive, you're still here, you're able to get up, get out, and get something, stay focused, and keep grinding, and keep pushing, and keep working towards your goal, and keep minding your business and tending to your business and make something happen, because in this economic downturn, you got to keep pushing. Let's go. We are multi-streaming: YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, do your boy a favor. Hit that thumbs up button that you see on the screen and get the likes up and get this message out so we can get the algorithm to push it out to all the other people and all across off the internet streets and all that goodness. And also to contribute to today's show, Cash App and Venmo right there. Cash App, Venmo right there. Cash App, is it Daniel 2888? Venmo is Danny-Daniel-00. I don't know why I forgot that today. That was weird. But yes, sir. Let's go ahead and get into today's show, man, because I got to knock this one out. Today's show, we're going to talk about these flock cameras that's going on. We're going to look at a video by the Daily Caller. So we're going to go and review a video by the Daily Caller, who is, I must say, who they are asking the mayor of, I forget what city or state he is the mayor of, but he is none other than the legend himself, known in the WWE or WWF in my day as Kane. Yes, sir.
No wonder all the world is gone, yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir. That is him, the Big Red Machine. Yes, sir. Hellfire and Brimstone. And shout out to that soundbite. I think his name is Spray Baby. Yeah, shout out to him for that one. That's one of the funniest sound bites ever. Go watch his social media channels. He cracking up. But yes, sir, we're gonna watch this video. Who this lady actually interviewed the mayor, Mr. Glenn Jacobs himself, formerly known as Kane the wrestler, and he goes and breaks down these flock cameras and his concerns with them and what he feels and what's going on with them. And he actually has some pretty good news to deliver. So we're going to go ahead and go over these and also watch like a few other clips from different places to kind of dive deeper into these things. But we are going to go ahead and go over this video by the Daily Caller. Shout out to them for use on their video. If you want to watch the video, you can go ahead and go over to the channel yourself and watch that video. But we're going to sit here and we'll listen to Mr. Man himself, Glenn Jacobs, go over and break this down in this interview to give you some really heads up, eye-opening information about how these flock cameras work. So without wasting any time, we're going to dive right into it. Let's go ahead and pull this one up right here. And we got the man right there himself, and we're going to go ahead and run this video, and I'll interject in between so we can talk about what is going on. So here we go.
Do when the Big Red Machine runs wild on the mass surveillance state. You may know him as Kane, the WWE superstar, but these days Glenn Jacobs serves as the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, where he is more likely to be tombstone pile driving civil liberties violations. Mr. Jacobs, tell us more about the county's plans for flock safety cameras.
What happened here was our sheriff's office, through a state grant, had ordered about 260 flock cameras. Then I discovered we already have some that are already here.
I think you said Knox County, Tennessee, Knoxville, Knox County, Tennessee. So he's out there at good old Tennessee right there. So shout out to him, and shout out to Young Dolph out of Tennessee as well. RIP.
Here outside of this grant, and it's something I've just been trying to get to the bottom of as far as, what happened here. And it's just sort of governmental stuff that sometimes goes on. But what that did was that drove me to look further into flock cameras. And initially, when I heard about these things, I thought they were license plate readers, right? The old, you drive by and the license plate takes a picture of your camera, and if it's on some sort of list, stolen car, Amber Alert, whatever, gets a hit, reports it to the police.
All right, so he thought these things were just simple license plate readers, but he's about to find out and about to give us some good old news and let us know that that is not the case and how bad this situation is going to be, how the world is going to be super surveil and super, what's the word? It's going to be fully integrated through networks, and a lot of data will be getting used and taken at all times. So listen to how he breaks this down and speaks on how the data of said flock cameras will be constantly 24/7 monitoring and tracking people. So let's continue. Here we go.
What I discovered is these things are completely different than that. Instead of a passive system where, again, a car drives by and they're looking at the license plates, but they only report when they get a hit on something that the police are looking for. What these cameras do is these cameras are an active system that's pulling data from every car that drives by. They take a snapshot, then it uses AI to not only store the data place, but also create what's called a vehicular fingerprint. And that's make, model, color of the car, distinguishing features such as roof racks, even bumper stickers. The big issue is that when these cameras are deployed in large numbers, that data is also stored in many cases for up to 30 days, depending on the policy of the agency. But nevertheless, when these cameras are deployed in large numbers, what they can do is they can say, okay, Glenn drives past this camera on wherever he's going. He drives past this camera probably on his way to work at 8:01 in the morning. Then he drives past this camera at 8:02. Then this camera at 8:03. And it can determine your movements based on this network of cameras, which, by the way, has been ruled unconstitutional.
So these cameras literally track your every move. What he's saying. So you go here, that you leave here. I mean, so they have so many cameras in place that it's tracking everywhere that you are going. Which is, I mean, you can kind of say we have that now. So I don't really see that being too big of a difference now. But the fact is, they're probably going to add a lot more than what we normally see than the average. But tracking exactly where you go now, to me, I think that's already normal. But the thing is, I don't think it's at the level of what it's gonna be with the more cameras that they're gonna add. So to sit here and track you at 8:01, 8:02, and 8:03, but I think it's gonna get even deeper to a sense where it'll know your whereabouts, how long you're at a place, when you leave the place, what you did at. I mean, I think the detail of the data that it's getting, and it's gonna have all this data prior to, let's say, if something were to go down, it would already have all this data. So therefore, if something happened, if something went down, if a situation unraveled, they already got the information in their hands, as opposed to being worried about having to get the information via a warrant or something. It's like, we already got it. We already heard the conversation that you made when you were at whatever destination. We already saw what time you left. We already know what time you got there. We already know who you called on the phone while you were there or in between. So it's going to be like everything integrated into one, not just the flock cameras, but also I believe they tie into your cell phone Bluetooth as well. But let's let him keep going. Let's let him keep talking.
In Carpenter v. United States, the Supreme Court ruled that the FBI could not use cell phone location data that they had gathered without a warrant to track someone's movements. So to me, this whole thing is it's unconstitutional to begin with, and now we have it, and it's on a much larger level. But again, these are not old school license plate readers. These are something just completely next level to all of that. And the biggest difference is, whereas license plate readers are targeted to, again, get a hit on a certain license plate or vehicle, these are just gathering information all the time.
So am I understanding you correctly that...
So it's just a 24/7 nonstop AI going. And then that's the thing. You have AI... You have AI hardware, computer, or whatever you want to call it. AI is implemented into this. So AI is different. AI is different. AI does things on its own, as well as, you know, like AI goes above and beyond. If you ever sat down and played with AI, you mess with Claude or ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever these things, Grok, what have you, you sit down and you play with these things and you actually do things with them. Like, it works with you and then it'll work for you. And then it'll also be, you know, I've also did this, that, and third. It's like, hold on, I didn't ask you to do all that. I mean, thank you at the same time, but also like, no, thank you if I didn't tell you to do it. Like, working with AI, like AI goes above and beyond sometimes, and it does some of the some like extra stuff. So to have this AI implemented in conjunctions with camera works and getting data from cell phone locations and cellular devices and stuff like that, this is gonna be a different ball game. I'm trying to think of a movie that I could reference that gives a good idea with AI and these cameras. I can't think of one. I would say Enemy of the State, but that's not a good enough one, because they were still doing cameras back then. This is AI. This is a whole different ball game. But let's let them keep going.
You know, gathering a license plate is not unconstitutional, but the web, the complete picture of, you know, collectively all of these different places that people are going, collecting that information and retaining it is unconstitutional.
We often hear you don't have an expectation of privacy on public roads or public places, and that's true. I mean, anyone can take a picture of your car, but what the Supreme Court has said is that the police can't follow you. They can't spy on you unless they have a warrant, which is what will end up happening when we have this sort of mass surveillance system in place. And as a mayor who went through COVID, I can also tell you that I am very aware, acutely aware of the potential for a system which is put in place to benefit the public, and then all of a sudden it quickly transforms into something which monitors and oppresses the public.
Before he goes on any further, I do want to make one thing clear. When it comes to legal jargon, when you're speaking legal jargon, always remember this forever. Always remember this. When they say in legal jargon, when they're talking like this, and they say the public means government. If you replace the word public with government, everything will make a lot more sense, because in legal jargon, that's what that actually means. You think it means the people. It don't. They don't care about you. Public means government. So once you can understand that and put that in your head and compartmentalize it and comprehend that, then when people are speaking like this and they're saying the public and the safety of the public and benefit of the public, yeah, safety of the government, benefit of the government. That's what they're saying. So you think it's the people. They're not talking about you. They're talking about the government themselves. So just always remember that. Always remember that when you're speaking legal jargon like this, or when they're using that word, the public, like this. But let's keep going.
Saw that in COVID. And again, with AI and all the new technologies out there, with something like this, the potential for abuse, and we've already seen that, still somewhat isolated with, you know, a bunch of officers have been arrested in Georgia and across the country. So it's not systemic. However, you know, if you think about COVID and look at that and how, oh my goodness, all of a sudden all these cameras are watching you and they know where you're going. And can you imagine if that technology had been prevalent during COVID? We wouldn't be able to leave our homes in many states.
Okay, so I do want to pinpoint out that he did mention abuse as far as the power of this system goes. And he mentioned a situation that happened in Georgia and some other places. Let me see if I can pull this up. He said there was some abuse of this stuff happening in different areas of the country where there was abuse of these cameras. Let me show you what he could be talking about. Here's one right here. Let me just read the thing right here on the front for you. He says 26 cops lost their jobs after more than 50 were charged or accused of using flock cameras to stalk women. Oh boy. All right, so it says down here, if I could read this to you, it's be hard to read. It says one officer ran his ex's license plates 200 times through flock cameras to stalk her. That was police chief in Kansas who also ran the plate of her new boyfriend. He resigned. Another in California IA used the cameras as part of a months-long campaign against his former fiancée and got 6 years in prison. 200 searches, 1 login, no warrant needed. He is one of 26 who lost their jobs. Source Institute for Justice CNN. So if you want to look in that, go ahead and take a look at that. So that's possibly what he could be talking about when he says that there's been abuse going on with using this stuff already. So I just want to show that right there, that it's already going down. It's already happening. And, you know, they're already hitting up their own people for abusing their own power. So it keeps everybody in check. It's interesting that they got 26 cops who lost their jobs across states from you trying to utilize this and thinking that they can get away with, you know, being above the law. Now, who's to say when, you know, the wrong person gets into power? But at the end of the day, this isn't this system that we're going into. This is not a, how do you say it? This is not necessarily a good, any and everybody finna catch this work. So even if you play for Team Evil, you finna get the smackdown laid on you playing on Team Evil too. So at the end of the day, if you think you play on Team Evil, where's my soundbite? If you think you play on Team Evil and everything's gonna be peaches and cream and like roses for you, Satan gonna look at your ass and be like, you know what I mean? And you're going to catch this work just like anybody else. Yeah, you may have dominion over some people or not dominion, power over some people and be able to, you know, reign a little bit of authority. But at the end of the day, like everybody catching this work, ain't nobody excluded from this work. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that going into the system, that's one thing that I always think about and look at. I think people thinking they can get they can get brownie points for moving into a satanic system, but you don't get brownie points going into a satanic system. You don't. You just get like a little bit of a power, and at the end of the day, you know your place, and you know at any given time that can happen to you too, just like anybody else. Like you are a slave to the system, just like the good people are slaves to the system, and it's not going to end well for you at all. So everybody's catching this work. But let's go back to Mr. Glenn Jacobs himself and let's let him continue. I just want to point out that when he's talking about the abuse of the power, I just want to show you that we've already seen that. So, or that's what he's probably referring to that happened in a few different states. But let's let him keep going. Here we go.
So it sounds like they want 260 more.
Yes.
Do you know how many are already in place?
Right now, there's about 20.
About 20.
Yeah.
But with enough...
They also have conventional license plate readers, which are not flock cameras, but they have about 20 of these. And they want to have a center basically where they integrate all of it together, the license plate readers and the flock cameras.
Yeah, tell us more about the Advanced Communications Center hub. What is that?
Right. I actually don't know much about it. This really just came up within the past couple weeks, and the sheriff's office hasn't shared too much with us about that.
But from what I'm reading from local reporting, it sounds like there will be sort of constant video surveillance around the county. Is that right? Approximately right?
Yeah, that's something to have to ask the sheriff's department. Again, I don't know exactly how that works.
Okay. But with...
She said there's going to be constant video surveilling 24/7. I mean, didn't he just kind of say that? Let me see it again.
From what I'm reading from local reporting, it sounds like there will be sort of constant video surveillance around the county. Is that...
I think he's going to mention, I haven't seen this whole thing. I saw some of it. I think he's going to mention something about how these cameras, these flock cameras are going to work, how they're going to be. He's going to mention this, like, if I'm not mistaken, unless he already said it, if I'm not paying attention. He's going to mention something similar to about what she's saying. He's going to mention something similar to how he's saying these flock cameras run, like, all the time. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to trip up with his words, but we'll go back and see if that's correct. But let's keep going. Is
that right?
I don't know exactly how that works.
Okay. But with enough of these flock cameras, it sounds like people could know, where you go to school or work, who you hang out with, where you worship.
Sure.
Does it disturb?
Where you worship, they're gonna know where you go to school at, where you work at, where you worship at, whose friend's house you go over, how long you be at each of these places. Like, this is crazy work. And when you think about it, it's crazy how like lately we've been hearing about like people getting deleted for their religious belief and their religious practices. This is one way that will tie you in to see who you're worshiping, because your place of worship will be put on blast, and it'll know exactly who you're worshiping at all times, depending on what place of worship you go to. So if you tear down one religious practice, or if you tear down all the religious practices and you only have one religious practice standing that you want to keep as the main one, and it's going to be the one that everybody has to go to, you can't go anywhere else unless you can attempt to practice behind closed doors. But then now they got Wi-Fi, they can see through your damn walls, so at some point they're going to be checking that and you can't do nothing. But I digress. Let's keep going. It's crazy.
View that police departments or even private HOAs could have that much information about people without their consent?
Yes, it does. Obviously, law enforcement is going to point to, well, we're able to solve this crime, we're able to find this person using these cameras. At the same time, I'm going to point to the cases of abuse. I'm going to point to the potential for abuse of these cameras. And that's something that we always have to weigh. Proponents of things will point to the constructive intended benefit, but when you're considering public policy, you have to also consider the unintended destructive consequences. So I understand that police are going to have every tool. I completely get that. And I support that within the confines of the Constitution. And that's where I'm coming from, is with license plate readers that we already have and other technology that we already have, you can still do the things that they're talking about, but not put in place a warrantless mass surveillance system, which is, and obviously they're not deliberately doing that, but that could be what they're in.
So you're arguing this is a Fourth Amendment
giving
violation?
Him a benefit, hold on, give him a benefit of the doubt. That's crazy. Now, he mentioned something about how it could be looked at as how the police force will look at it as a constructive way to do their job and to fulfill their role and duties and to keep crime and stuff off the streets and all that stuff. But he's like, I'm already looking at the cases of abuse that's happened and all the things that are infringing upon the Constitution. We're going to take a look at an officer right now who is basically what he just said. You're going to have somebody's going to speak to a cop, and the cop is going to give you the cop answer, and then somebody else is going to go on and speak on, their personal viewpoints on how they see these flock cameras going as well. So we're going to take a look at this law enforcement guy right here, and let's listen to what they ask, and let's listen to how he responds. So here we go.
What do you say to the citizens that say, I don't want this in my city, it's an invasion of privacy, I don't like this?
We're not here to watch you. You do have an expectation of privacy inside your residence. But this is no different than people with Ring cameras and cell phones. Once you step outside your house, that expectation of privacy is gone.
They sort of act like they weren't able to catch criminals before that. Like they weren't able to call another police department and say, hey, we have a red sedan being driven by somebody who looks like this with this license plate number, watch out for it, and then be able to find it. Or as if traffic cameras hadn't existed before flock safety, or as if ALPRs haven't existed before flock safety. I often want to tell police, give yourself a little more credit. Don't let this multi-billion-dollar company take credit for your hard work. You're the one solving the crime. I could push a button on some of these cameras and log into it and delete and change and modify data. They can't be used in court because of that, because nobody can prove that they're secure. I hate surveillance cameras. I don't like that.
They can't be used in court because of that, because nobody knows, because they're not secure. But then they could be used in court because of that. You know what I mean? You could use some AI footage and twig it up and make it seem like, hey, this was you. I'm just saying, because you know, AI footage it can look like CCTV, it can look like regular TV, it can look like old Western, like black and white channels. Like you can look at AIs can look in many different ways, and it keeps getting better. So, this is dangerous. This is dangerous because we're treading down. You could alter footage to look like something happened that didn't happen, but because it's AI, it looked like it happened. And then to say that you can't use this footage in court, I mean, I always say stay your ass out of court as much as you possibly can, because they ain't no. I digress. Let's let them keep talking.
I just don't like them in general, and I have them all over this property because the cops have showed up here and because we have private investigators. And it sucks that I have to invest in this stuff that I hate so I can at least have my own side of the story in case a cop comes here and says that I assaulted them or something, probably because the CEO of this company is telling people that I'm a violent, lawless activist.
What do you say to the citizens that say, I don't want this in my city, it's an invasion of privacy, I don't like this?
We're not here to watch you. You do have an expectation.
We're not here to watch you. Well, sir, this is what they were doing. They were watching people. Now, granted, they were stalking women. Now, I don't know if they were just stalking women randomly, or it seems like, according to these stories, it was women of infidelity, apparently, or whatever, cheating on them. So, but what about the people in uniform that are racist? What about the people in uniform that are feminists and hate men? What about the people in uniform that practice a religious practice and hate other religions and only support their own? And, you know, they want to condemn the other religions. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, like, what about those people? Because if you're saying that these people did it because their wives or girlfriends was cheating and found, okay, cool, we can use that scenario, but then we got to use all the other ones, because right now we got women who hate men with the feminist movement. We got religious people that want to delete other religious people. We're trying to make them bow down to their religion. So what if these people are in police clothing or whatever law enforcement clothing? They gonna be watching and stalking people who don't practice the same faith or who are racist and don't look the same skin color and all this. Like, then you have to go out and those, or a political person who doesn't believe in the same party, red or blue, and all that nonsense. So at the end of the day, it's like, who's to say? Like, you're saying we're not here to watch you, but like, you can't control what somebody else does. That's the intentions, but the fact still remains, like, that's what's gonna happen. So I don't know. He's kind of weird for saying that, but I understand he has to say what he has to say according to his job that he's performing. So I understand where he's coming from.
Against Americans' rights against unreasonable search and seizure.
Yes, it is. This would, you know, if you look at what the Supreme Court has ruled in both Carpenter v. United States, as well as the recent geofencing ruling that came down, this would be considered, not a lawyer, but this would be considered an unconstitutional search. And they're just blanket searches. You know, the difference between these particular cameras and the old LPRs is that those were targeted. Those are looking for specific individuals. These are just gathering data all the time on all of us.
And that precedent exists, those cases you mentioned, with cell phone data and geofencing data. Can you explain to us what that means?
Real quick, LPR cameras are license plate readers. In case you didn't know what LPR meant, is license plate readers.
Yeah, so with geofencing, what was happening is the police would tell the cell phone companies, hey, we want all of the cell phone numbers that were in this certain area, and they give a parameter of where they wanted it at this time. And the court said, you can't do that. You can issue a search warrant and say, was this cell phone in this area at this time? But you can't gather everybody's cell phones, because again, what ends up happening is, you know, people who are just minding their own business are suddenly getting pulled into this web of surveillance.
Do you have a sense, Mr. Jacobs, for why it is that this is getting so much attention now, given that they have already been in place?
Yeah, for me, what happened was it was really social media. And I literally woke up one day and people are like, why did Mayor Jacobs do this? I was like, what did I do? And that's when I realized that this was when the $800,000 payment, as well as the 260 additional flock cameras, came top of mind for me. I had no idea before that, just because of how it was done. The procurement process in this case was not how we normally do things. And as well as the other cameras, again, the procurement process was not how they would normally bring it to my attention. So all of these things were kind of sliding under the radar, flying under the radar until someone on Facebook, basically, however they did it, but found out that there'd been that the state grant was being used for this. Before that, our commission had no idea. This was done, the grant was approved in November of last year. It was 11-0 votes. It was a unanimous vote. But when you look at the resolution and the grant itself, it's really innocuous. It doesn't talk about flock cameras. It just talks about violent crime interdiction.
So he's saying the procurement process. When you hear the word procurement, think money. So the money process that was going on, he said it was different. They basically done under the radar. That's why he was saying the procurement process kind of went under his nose. He wasn't able to see what was going on because it was done differently. So he was unaware of what was going on because the way the thing was handled, it wasn't done normally. It was like all this stuff was handled in a different manner. So by the time everything got brought to the forefront and the grants were approved and all that stuff, and then they did a unanimous vote on 11-0, and then even the way it was presented, it wasn't presented under flock cameras, it was presented under what I forget what he said, but like violence something or something. So it wasn't even presented in a way so you would know, nor was it handled financially in the normal way of other finances were handled. So that's why he was like, I caught this off of social media. About the time this already happened, I didn't even know that this is even like applied. I didn't even know that this even went through. It's like went right by me. Everything happened right all around me. So that's what he's saying. So whenever you hear the word procurement, think money. Think about that. All right, here we go.
Interesting that they're surveilling us, but so many of their activities are going under the radar. And so that's different from how a contract would typically.
Right.
You see, he's saying that the whole contract process went under the radar, basically. The procurement process went under the radar. You didn't see this happening, nor was it worded the same way. It wasn't worded flock cameras, it was worded something else. So that's why he wasn't able to catch it or sniff it out. That's why he had to find out social media. Then it was brought to his attention. Then, then it was, him able to sit down and be like, okay, what the hell is this? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Happened.
Yes. This is, that is a long story, but in this case, what's happened is it's my understanding. And again, this is through the sheriff's office and our own procurement department. But what my understanding is, the $800,000, yes, it's for a commodity, but then they also have to sign a service agreement. Well, we did approve money for commodity, and we're not going to tell the sheriff you can or can't buy a certain kind of car or anything like that. Okay, that we can't do that. However, these contracts, commission does have to look at those, and I have to look at those. Well, apparently, the actual service agreement for the $800,000 and the 260 cameras won't come until later, if that makes sense. So it's a little convoluted.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned COVID, and it is really interesting and sort of unsettling to think about what would have happened if these had been in place during that time. Of course, we just heard from Anthony Fauci, or didn't hear from him, more accurately.
Wait, for the rest of your questions, I refuse to answer them. I will.
Well, I don't expect you to incriminate yourself, but yeah, what did you make of that hearing?
It was a farce. I actually got to speak to Senator Rand Paul last night. We were at an event together, and we were discussing it. And was there even grounds for Fauci to plead the Fifth Amendment? Because
Okay, so they're talking about Fauci. Yeah, that's not what we're here for. We're here for the flock cameras. Let me just see if they talked about flock cameras up close to the end. Let me see.
safety has to do with what are industry best practices. But they're going to vary quite a bit. And you look around the country, most places allow an agency to store the data for 30 days. New Hampshire, it's 3 minutes.
Organization is based here in DC. It's been almost.
Let me get this question that she asked first, and then we'll see if this is still about the flock cameras real quick.
Well, certainly it seems like the public response to flock cameras has been almost a visceral rejection. And I do wonder if some of that is memories of COVID. Obviously, a lot of the controversy and discussion has been happening at the municipal and county level. But, our organization is based here in DC. Do you think that this is something that Congress should take a look at?
Absolutely. Congressman Tim Burchett, my congressman, also my predecessor in office, has a bill to ban flock cameras. At the state level, that's one of the biggest issues actually as well is in Tennessee, there's really no laws or regulations around these things. You have police departments, municipalities that are coming up with them basically on their own. Now they're relying on industry best practices. I kind of wonder how much flock safety has to do with what are industry best practices.
There's no wait, what?
On these things. At the state level, that's one of the biggest issues actually as well is in Tennessee, there's really no laws or regulations around these things. You have police.
There's no laws or regulations around these flock cameras at all, and that's in Tennessee. So I'm pretty sure. Golly, there's no laws or regulations around flock cameras. So therefore, anything goes. You can just throw these things out and just, you ain't got to worry about it. You won't get in trouble for anything because it's like, hey, it's a camera. Wow, there's no regulations for these whatsoever. So he's just saying anybody can get their hands on them. If you got somebody like a really big donor or somebody like that, pay off your local law enforcement people, a couple of buddies in law enforcement, send some contracts out and make some things happen and make some things shake. Kind of like what happened under his nose. You know what I mean? $800,000, 260 cameras coming in. There's nothing he can really do about it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, I mean, it's a commodity in a sense. I guess you could say that because he said that they won't not allow them to have commodities. However, they kind of fit under the same category as a commodity, which they won't shut down or stop them from being able to have. But there's no restrictions or anything on these things for them to have them. So therefore, it's like, what can you do? But sheesh, this is going to get out of hand. Let's just finish this up.
Departments, municipalities that are coming up with them basically on their own. Now they're relying on industry best practices.
See, they're coming up with them on their own. Municipalities and police departments are grabbing these on their own. They don't even. So somebody's out there just like, shh, this department gets it. This municipality gets it. This department gets it. This municipality gets it. So courthouses, police stations, fire stations, everybody getting their hands on these. Everybody go ahead and grab some, and there's nothing nobody can do about it. There's no regulation. That's crazy work.
Practices. I kind of wonder how much flock safety has to do with what are industry best practices. But they're going to vary quite a bit. And you look around the country, most places allow an agency to store the data for 30 days. New Hampshire, it's 3 minutes. Literally, if you get pulled over, the officer has to remove the image and everything from the database or however they do that. To my mind, that actually does not allow for flock cameras because that's one of the things that they do. I think that there needs to be legislation both at the federal and at the state level as well. And I've talked with some of our legislators here, and I believe in Tennessee that will be happening in January when our General Assembly is back in session. And I think that as this issue becomes more prevalent around the country, Congress will take it up. And I applaud my friend Congressman Tim Burchett for being the first person to do that.
I don't know, man. I don't think you're stopping these flat cameras, bro. We've been talking about surveillance state like 1984 George Orwell for quite some time now. I think we're just here at this inevitable point. And China's been having these, if you don't know. China been having this since like 2010, 2015 or something like that. I remember looking at this years ago. And I was like, dang, China's like that? Like, so you would jaywalk, right? I remember seeing this in China. Somebody jaywalked and they put the person's picture on the billboard, and then it was a ding to their social credit score. So then your social credit score then becomes if you can get a train ticket, a plane ticket, a passport, a home, a mortgage, apartment, like then it all intertwines and comes into this big credit system of your social credit score. So the flat cameras are the prerequisite to a social credit score. That's what that is. So for what he's saying is like, he's right, but I mean, he's like scratching the surface, bro. He ain't even going deep, because then when the flat cameras are, or which they already are doing, I'm pretty sure, are doing facial recognition, and then the AI is implementing laws based on facial recognition, going across a crosswalk. If the sign doesn't change, if it still says stop and you walk when it says stop instead of it saying go or whatever it does, you'll get a ticket for that. You can get a ding for that because the facial recognition is going to pull you up in the system database from the flight camera. So he's scratching the surface, but this shit gets really deep, and it gets to the point where, everything that you do, you get dinged on a social credit score basis, which then if you have a bad social credit score, it just hinders your complete total existence. Like I said, no train ticket, no plane ticket, no passport, probably no firearm. Probably by that time, they probably take firearms away. Who knows how life's going to go. No license to drive. All these things will get hit to where you're not able to, live life or do anything, you know what I mean? Because then it says that socially you're a bad person wherever you go. You don't follow the public government rules. You break all of our laws, and we catch you breaking all of our laws through our flock system. And you know how many laws they have? Like spitting is against the law. Littering is against the law. I mean, of course, you shouldn't litter, but you know what I mean? Like, any little thing that you can get caught for, or you drive by a camera, I'm pretty sure they don't see you with your seatbelt on. Boom, that's just, it's a ding to you. All this stuff, like Demolition Man, where they were talking and the person's like, damn, like, you have it fine. You know what I mean? It was like, so it's got getting to that point, but you just add the facial recognition system and it has your face in the system. That's it, bro. It's a wrap. And then my thing is, like, with all the illegals and the immigrants and stuff like that, they come in, they run your facial recognition, they can't find you in the system. What they gonna do with you? Think about that. That's something I'm like, okay, what happens if the system runs facial recognition and you're an immigrant in a country and they can't figure out, like, you're not in our system. Who are you? What happens to you? Because they gonna come get your ass. Then they gonna come get you. So that's one thing I think about. You know what I mean? Like right now, they're like, let everybody over, let everybody in. But it's like, if they implement these flock cameras like this and that type of stuff happens, and these immigrants come over and they're not documented, what punishment will you face if your facial recognition rolls up and they're able to see who you are and try to track you down and find you and come get you? And then see your whereabouts everywhere you go, because, flock cameras are everywhere, just tracking your every move and every step. Like, what they gonna do to the people who are not documented? What they gonna do to the immigrants that are immigrated to a different country? What are they gonna do to them? Are they gonna force them to assimilate, or not assimilate, but are they gonna force them to, give you a chance? Like, hey, we caught you. Let's go get you documented, buddy. I don't see that happening. I always think the worst is going to happen. So just a thought. That's just a thought. Who knows? But let's keep going.
Yeah, I know the default setting is 30 days, but in some cases they can keep that data for longer. Do we have a lot of insight into when they keep the data longer? And
I think, no, I don't. But I would assume, they will keep it if it's evidence in a case. Okay, I understand that. But again, for like blanket everybody, I don't know, but it does vary. In Virginia, it's 21 days. So it really varies according to the state and the locality.
So you got to trust the state to hold your evidence. You got to trust the state that you're in to hold your evidence for the allotted days leading up to your case. And the court system works super slow. So by the time you get in front of a judge, those days are probably already passed. Your 21, 30 days probably done passed. Who knows how hard or how easy it will be for you to get the footage or the evidence from said organization. Like, man, that's gonna be crazy work. Yeah, this ain't looking good. This ain't looking shabby at all. This is woo-wee. This ain't looking good.
And what you said about who sets industry standards is super interesting too. Is there a particular lobby group that we should be paying attention to that is saying, what's normal and what's abnormal? And
probably the law enforcement, as well as probably the folks from Flock Safety. I would assume that they're the ones that are out talking about it.
Got it.
Yeah. And I will say too, that, the 30 days, what they'll point to is saying that, that crimes often aren't reported immediately. So they need 30 days to be able to scrub their database or search through their database. But again, if we're looking for stolen cars and missing people, it seems to me that the LPRs, which hit when something drives by, accomplish the same thing. If it's something that's time, time is of the essence. Right.
Yeah. It's not often that you wait, 25 days to report a stolen car.
Right.
Again, we're here in Washington. Are there any other civil liberties violations you're watching on the federal level that you're concerned about? There's been a lot of discussion in Congress about Section 702, for example. Anything else that should be on our radar?
Right. That should be on people's radars, because Section 702, obviously what can happen is with the FISA warrants, they're secret warrants, and they can end up pulling Americans who are not supposed to be spied on, but they can end up being spied on because of Section 702. So that's something that everyone needs to be very aware of.
Yeah, and to me, it seems like that's a precedent of obvious civil liberties violations sort of becoming the status quo, and then nobody does anything about it, and senators say, well, this is the...
All right. We're going to wrap that one up. We're going to wrap that up. So, at the end of the day, man, the way I see this is going the path of facial recognition. China already did this, does this, doing this, is this, and this. The CCP is already down with the FLOCK TV. You know what I mean? They're already doing it. I've been showed this a long time ago. Let me see if I could find some footage of China doing that. I mean, I have this one, but let's do this. I found one that says demonstration of vehicle scanning by Flock/Axon. So let's see what it looks like with an actual Flock camera going to work in a police vehicle. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see how this works. I think this is inside a police vehicle. I could be wrong, but let's just take a look at this video and see the demonstration of vehicle scanning by Flock. So let's see how this looks. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. Could I make this bigger? That's what she said. No, I can't. All right, here we go.
Police vehicles, as you can see them right here. Plotting very nice. Multiple devices. Picking up there, see a Moto, that's a Jambo phone. This is a Galaxy and a Pixel. You can see we're getting multiple in-car networks. It's gonna be Axon, Telit. So we're getting multiple in-car systems and hidden network names, labeled network names. So these make it pretty easy. This is also probably just a different system within the vehicle. Looks like they're running an Axon and a Telit system. So Like I said, the labeling makes it easy. Multiple networks here, a lot going on inside these cars. Getting decently accurate radar plots. Some of them are a little skewed, but again, excellent observation. We got these guys probably a couple hundred yards down the road, so.
A couple hundred yards down the road? I think that's it. A couple hundred yards down the road is when they got him. That's crazy work. So they're seeing all of their networks, what they're using. Pretty sure they know if it's a cellular or a laptop device. They know what networks they're tied into and everything. And they're parked. They're parked. And they're scanning the devices that could potentially be inside their car, which, you know, they're scanning the laptops that's inside the cop's car. That's crazy work, bruh. And just imagine they are tapping into your cell phone data, tracking you with your cell phone data, but then also hearing you on your cell phone microphone, which they probably already are. But let's just say that, you know, from where he was inside with the flock camera could pick up and probably turn on or hear your devices. You know what I mean? It can pick up and not hear your devices inside the car, so they can hear your whole conversation inside of a car based off the microphone, or they can hear everything that you're saying, doing, probably see what you're looking at, music you're listening to, all based off of the device that you're using inside of your car. This is crazy, man. If you got an EV, if you got an electric vehicle, boy, yeah. That makes sense why the gas is becoming so expensive, because they're trying to move you closer to EV vehicles, because gas would be so expensive that it's like, well, it's cheaper to do EV. And an EV ties you deeper into a flock camera system, because then everything electronically in the electronic vehicle is easy to detect with the flock system and control. Because I'm pretty sure the EVs work in conjunction, in tangent with the flock systems. This video, we're going to see somebody is walking up on a flock's camera in the middle of their town, and they're going to speak their 2 cents on it. So let's see this video, see what this person says about this flock's camera being inside their town. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm pissed is the understatement. Look at this right here. This is a flock camera. There it is, right there. There's the camera lens. And guess what this is? This is my bedroom window. It's facing directly towards my bedroom window. What is that? Over there on that intersection is 2 more flock cameras. Why was there a need to put one right here, directly beside an apartment building, directly beside a window, which happens to be my bedroom window right there, and it's facing my window now. To say I'm pissed is the understatement.
So she just like showed you what it looks like inside of her apartment, how the camera is facing directly at her. Now my thing is, can these cameras see through walls? That's my other question. Can they see through walls? Because you know that they can see through walls with like Wi-Fi routers and stuff like that. So can the flock camera pick up on a Wi-Fi router or whatever? Or like, can it see through walls is the damn question. Because why would you face a camera towards a window or towards a wall? That doesn't make any sense. So it has to be something else to it than for it to just be facing at her window. Has to be more to it than that. That's just too simple. You know what I mean? That's just too simple. Let's take a look at this guy. He's going to run a flock camera and he's walking around. We're going to see how flock cameras work. And somehow, I don't know how they got this footage of a flock camera, but he's going to be talking and walking towards a flock camera. We're going to see how they track people as they walk around, you know, the neighborhoods and just living their daily life. So we're going to take a look at that and see how this goes and just see what happens. And understanding how, like I said, this has been going on in China for years. This is nothing new. It's just now it's being implemented over here. And now it's being implemented over here, then you're going to have a social credit score. And then there's a guy who breaks down how the social credit score works with the flock system. And I'm going to show you that next, or coming up here a little bit later. But let's see how this works in a outdoor setting, like on a daily stroll or a daily walk. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. Here we go.
stolen off a truck before it was ever connected to the cloud. If a person were able to gain physical access to the device leased to the city, which is illegal, they still would not be able to gain access to the footage, as the data is only stored for a very limited time duration on the device following its transmission to the cloud. None of these vulnerabilities affect our cloud platform, where the vast majority of all evidence and metadata is stored.
Oh, what are they saying, that they can keep the evidence? They can record, but you can't? Is that what they're saying now? That they'll have the evidence for the cameras, but you can't have evidence for whatever crime allegedly you commit? I could see that be a thing.
Found another one at Young Street and Harris Road, also in Bakersfield, which is about 15 minutes from the other spot. So I'm going to go walk up to that now. You can actually see it.
So there, if your city or county or place of business or whatever feels satisfied by the company's reassurances, show them that. Many of the feeds that you've seen in this video were relatively easy to find and completely accessible at the time Flock Safety was telling cities that the devices are secure after they're deployed. And if you are in touch with your county or city council, keep a record of your correspondence with them. Let them know and fully realize that if someone gets stalked, robbed, harassed, or abducted as a result of a reported security vulnerability by a third-party surveillance vendor, they'll be on record for having known about it and approving it anyway, and they can explain that to their voters and constituents. I've said this before, and I'm sure I'll say it again. The underlying problem is not Flock Safety. The problem is cities wanting a cloud-connected, AI-enhanced mass surveillance system, but are too lazy to conduct their own security audit or research the efficacy versus risk. And it very much is an industry-wide problem. For example, other vendors in this industry have used my last video to shame Flock Safety on social media, being completely unaware that I had broken their own AI model before ever even having access to a Flock device. And I need to make it very clear that I am not the first and only person to find out about all of these enormous vulnerabilities. I'm just apparently the first person stupid enough to walk the expensive legal tightrope of making them public on a large platform. But I also have tremendously cool and impactful projects lined up for this channel that have taken a backseat due to the urgency of this. I want to go back to storing data in birds and inventing microphones to record volcanoes, but I'm happy to contribute to and stay active in the growing community of people standing up to this. If you don't subscribe to 404 Media's content and journalism, I highly recommend doing so.
I don't know, buddy. You're treading on thin ice there. And at the same time, everything that you're doing, they're just looking at you and like, okay, well, we're going to combat you. We're going to train up people to combat what you're doing. If you're just a regular guy doing this and breaking our systems, then we're just going to, you're just a test run for us to know the caliber of people that they have to deal with in order to defeat people who are trying to go against or break in the Flock systems. Appreciate the follow. Thank you, Maya Collins. So when you look at this, you're going to notice that these Flock systems, I mean, they're able to, you know, be broken into, but at the same time, they're just going to use their people to fix all of the mess ups and imperfections that they do have within the Flock system. So right now it's just the beginning part, but as we'll see here in the future, they're going to tighten up on it. Now, let's let this guy speak on what a fully digital ID system actually looks like. So when you take all these Flock systems and put them together, when you have all of the Flock system, when you have all the Flock cameras, you got the digital IDs, you have the facial recognitions with all the Flock cameras, what it actually looks like. This is what it basically is the end game for of what they're pushing towards or moving towards with the AI system. I'm gonna let this guy break this down. This is Dr. Professor Yang or something like that. I forget his name, but here we go. Let's let him talk about this. So here we go. Where is it? There it is. Fair use.
How does it work in China? Well, in China, we all have digital ID. If you want to access anything in China, you need your digital ID. So if you want to open a bank account, you have to use a digital ID. If you want to use any e-payments, you have to use digital ID. If you want to use a phone, you have to use digital ID, okay? So everyone's part of this national database. And then what this allows government to do is basically monitor everything you do. Because basically, depending on how you buy things, I can then extrapolate to figure out your behavior. And then I can figure out your thinking, right? And then I can create incentives in order to guide and control your behavior.
So in China, can they see everything that you do?
Yes, they can.
Messages you send?
Everything.
Payments you make?
Everything. Everything. Everything you do online is being recorded and it's being inputted into the database to figure out who you are, what you want, and how to control you.
And that's like where we're heading to. That's the, you know, that's the tightrope that we're treading down. I mean, there's no way that you can deny that whatsoever. Like, you can't deny that that's the tightrope that we're headed down, and we're seeing it. You know what I mean? It's just play by play, day by day, getting closer and closer and closer, and it's inevitable at this point, because we all know there's a, you know, they want to cashless society. They have already stopped making pennies. You know that, right? Pennies are no longer in circulation. So if you come across pennies, you know, they're just winding down as time goes on. Pretty soon there'll be no pennies, but pennies are winding down. They're no longer in circulation. They stopped making pennies. You know, they're just moving closer and closer to a cashless society, and then tying in everything. So the way to look at it is perfectly with how China does it. And there's another dude who broke that down too. Let me put this guy on the screen and let him speak on the real truth behind flock cameras, and see how these two people spoke on the same situation and came to like the same conclusion at the end of the day. So check this guy out. Listen to what he says.
China, they're piloting it a few years ago in Shenzhen. So I lived overseas. If you go to Shenzhen, back in 2017, they already had facial recognition cameras there. So if you jaywalked in Shenzhen, they would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account. This is 4 years ago, so this is not like some sort of conspiracy theory. It's not something that's going to happen 10 years into the future. This happened in China. And so this system in China that exists is extremely advanced. They can detect if it's a man or a woman. They can guess your age. They can detect what kind of car model it is, who the manufacturer is. This is a sort of technology that we see in all these dystopian sort of films and whatever. And people keep putting it off and thinking that this is something that's going to happen later in my kid's lifetime or my grandkids. It's already here. And if this gets implemented anywhere, especially in a Western nation, it's not going away.
It's not going away. Who is this?
China?
Big-breasted child.
They're piloting it.
I guess she was the video I chose. Whoops, I didn't know she was in there. But hey, nice pair of baggages on her. But yeah, as you see, and he even said it. Somebody jaywalked, and I had seen it like in real time. Like I remember watching the video about it, but he mentioned that somebody jaywalked, they detected, and they automatically deducted the money out of their account. Think about that, bruh. They automatically deducted the money out of their account for getting a ticket and jaywalking. They got a notification, and then right there immediately took the money out of their account. Bro, that's brutal. That's brutal. Immediately take the money out of your account for breaking one of their laws. Jaywalking. So we're treading down a very, 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 very dangerous slope, man. Treading down a very dangerous slope. And, you know, let's just go ahead and take a look at a few more things here that's going to talk about these. And we're going to look at this one right here that's going to talk about the security researchers that talk about flock cameras and secretly creating GPS trackers for every car in America. And it's already live. It says this is extremely concerning, but let's see exactly what this looks like of already tracking every car in America. So let's see how this looks when it comes to flock cameras. Here we go. Let's take a look at this one. This is going to be interesting to see. Here we go.
Flock license plate readers take a time-stamped photo of every vehicle that passes every camera. Police can search your historical travel information for 30 days.
This creates a searchable database of everyone, not just the suspects of crime.
Security researcher Ben Jordan.
And it's like if you were to build a graph of that sheet, you know, and plot it to a map, now it's as if you've had a GPS on your car for an entire month.
By your own publications, 700,000 crimes a year are solved with Flock.
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Reported crimes in America, yeah. So there's a lot more that probably are being helped that aren't being reported. But yes, we have about 700,000 crimes that we are aware of that are being solved in part with evidence that's derived from a Flock Safety device.
In order for that historical data to be of investigative value, you have to track every car for 30 days.
Again, I would challenge you on the word track. Tracking the whole of your movements is very different than knowing that you passed by one specific camera, 24 specific cameras. Those are different things.
And then the examples of tracking that vehicle from location to location to location.
But Flock's own webinars talk about its license plate readers' ability to track vehicles and people.
If you want to know how bad this Flock camera situation is, just watch the first 24 seconds of this video. Flock says its cameras don't track people. Its own training videos say otherwise. I watched this, my mouth literally dropped within 24 seconds. I'll play a little bit more for you, but just this first part is wild. Pay very close attention to when he says, this is a police department and these are all the other agencies and departments that it's sharing its information with. It's mind-blowing. It's literally crazy. Watch this.
In Boulder, Colorado, inside a small coffee shop. The brighter areas are where the really high density of flock cameras
Golly.
Freeman runs the largest police camera tracking
This part
system
right
in
here.
the nation. If you click on any of these police departments, it'll show you who they're sharing with. So the lines going outward are the agencies.
Wow.
It's called DFlock. The app shows where the cameras are and which way they're pointed. How many cameras have you mapped? 88,970 cameras at the moment. Why did you want to do this? The main reason is to show people how invasive this is.
Dang. They're all sharing. Jesus. And as time goes on, it's only going to get worse and more strategic and more clamped down. And just it's just going to get worse and worse.
Every camera.
I didn't have that turned up very loud. You know what? We're going to watch that again. I'm going to have it turned up louder so you can hear it better. Let's watch that one more time just so you can hear it better because I had that turned down really low. Let's try that one more time. Let's go ahead and watch this again.
Flock license plate readers take a time-stamped photo of every vehicle that passes every camera. Police can search your historical travel information for 30 days.
This creates a searchable database of everyone, not just the suspects of crime.
Security researcher Ben Jordan.
And it's like if you were to build a graph of that sheet, you know, and plot it to a map, now it's as if you've had a GPS on your car for an entire month.
By your own publications, 700,000 crimes a year are solved with Flock?
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Reported crimes in America, yeah. So there's a lot more that probably are being helped that aren't being reported. But yes, we have about 700,000 crimes that we are aware of that are being solved in part with evidence that's derived from a Flock safety device.
In order for that historical data to be of investigative value, you have to track every car for 30 days.
Again, I would challenge you on the word track. Tracking the whole of your movements is very different than knowing that you passed by one specific camera, 24 specific cameras. Those are different things.
And then the examples of tracking that vehicle from location to location to location.
But Flock's own webinars talk about its license plate reader's ability to track vehicles and people.
If you want to know how bad this Flock camera situation is, just watch the first 24 seconds of this video. Flock says its cameras don't track people. Its own training videos say otherwise. I watched this, my mouth literally dropped within 24 seconds. I'll play a little bit more for you, but just this first part is wild. Pay very close attention to when he says, this is a police department and these are all the other agencies and departments that it's sharing its information with. It's mind-blowing. It's literally crazy. Watch this.
In Boulder, Colorado, inside a small coffee shop. The brighter areas are where the really high density of flock cameras are. Will Freeman runs the largest police camera tracking system in the nation. If you click on any of these police departments, it'll show you who they're sharing with. So the lines going outward are the
Jesus, they're all sharing their networks of flock cameras so they can all see everything at all times. At all times, they're all sharing one mass major net. This is the Antichrist system, bro. This is the Antichrist system. There's no way around this. There's no way around this. The only way to get around it is if you go into these little areas up here, but the damn housing prices for real estate is so damn expensive. You can't live up here. You ain't gonna get no vegetation up here for having any crops or anything. But look at this. This is just in the United States. They're all police departments are all sharing everything. So it doesn't matter where you go. AI to follow pedestrians while protesters are mapping. Let me see if I can show you more of that. Did they show us more? Newest devices use AI to follow pedestrians while protesters are mapping nearly 90,000 something nationwide. I can't even see it all. I'm just reading what was right up here in the top.
So the lines going outward are the agencies that can access their data directly. It's called DFlock, the app.
So all of these protests are literally all of these protests. Okay, you know what? Protests and concerts and probably streaming too, right? Protests, concerts, streaming, any kind of event, any sporting event or whatever are always to use for facial recognition. You can use all these things for AI facial recognition, all of them. All of these things. All of them. Think about it. If it says AI is going to follow pedestrians, protesters are mapping 90. I can't read the whole thing. I'm trying to see it. But they're going to use all these events and all these things to get you in the AI database system. That's what they're doing for sure. AI is going to follow pedestrians. How are they going to follow you? They got to get you in the system. I mean, whether it's your driver's license or whether it's just you out and about at a gathering, a get together, a concert, a sporting event, something. All them cameras going around looking at everybody. I mean, bruh. Because I know a band that did that. Bring Me the Horizon did that with one of their songs. Dude took a camera and walked by people. It was all cool. He was singing, but the facial recognition was getting everybody's faces on like the big screen that they had in their concert. I was like, oh man, they are not playing around with this. Let me see. I got one more thing I want to show you, and this is gonna be it. It's gonna be from Mr. America's Most Wanted himself. Let's go ahead and let this man finish up this show. Mr. America's Most Wanted, Mr. America's Most Hated man himself. He is for sure not, he's probably more hated than, I can't think of anybody more hated than this guy, but we gonna let him finish the show. Here we go. Let's let him finish the last of the show. We're going to wrap this up. Here we go.
What they call the social credit system. If any of these family photos, if any of your activities online, if your purchases, if your associations, if your friends are in any way different from what the government or the powers that be of the moment would like them to be, you're no longer able to purchase train tickets. You're no longer able to board an airplane. You may not be able to get a passport. You may not be eligible for a job. You might not be able to work for the government. All of these things are increasingly being created and programmed and decided by algorithms. And those algorithms are fueled by precisely the innocent data that our devices are creating all of the time, constantly, invisibly, quietly, right now. Our devices are casting all of these records that we do not see being created, that in aggregate seem very innocent. You were at Starbucks at this time. You went to the hospital afterwards. You spent a long time at the hospital. After you left the hospital, you made a phone call. You made a phone call to your mother. You talked to her until the middle of the night. The hospital was an oncology clinic. Even if you can't see the content of these communications, the activity records, what the government calls metadata, which they argue they do not need a warrant to collect, tells the whole story. And these activity records are being created and shared and collected and intercepted constantly by companies and governments. And ultimately it means as they sell these, as they trade these, as they make their businesses on the backs of these records, what they are selling is not information. What they are selling is us. They're selling our future. They're selling our past. They are selling our history, our identity, and ultimately they are stealing our power and making our stories work for them.
Sheesh. And that was a lot of jump cuts. So it makes me wonder if this was compiled or put together all one way, or if this is an AI created video. I don't know. That was a hell of a lot of jump cuts. I will say that. Every 2 seconds it was a jump cut. Maybe bro's paranoid and he has every reason to be. But that's going to be it about flock cameras, man. As you can see, it's coming to a point, and he made a very good point. The social credit score, like I said, it's the Antichrist system. The social credit score will be put into place, and he said that if you don't have views with the government that is in place at the time, then you will not be able to buy a train ticket, won't be able to buy a plane ticket, won't be able to get a passport. If your mindset, thoughts, or beliefs don't align up with current regime that's in place, you know, He's saying it's going to be lights out for you. It's not, you ain't gonna be able to participate in the system. You ain't gonna be able to buy or sell, whether you're rich or poor. You know, what is it? Revelations 13. Why not take a look at it? Why not take a look at it while we're here? I mean, because we might as well talk about it. Is it 13 or 14 or 15? I don't know. It's one of them. We'll find it before we leave here. Let me see real quick.